I've always liked the bad boys. I'm not going to lie. And he just punched me in my face. She said, honey, get out while you can. Wow. She said, he will kill you. She said, you're not the first.
They only target women don't have a support network or that don't have very good relationships with their families. So they might have a mum, a dad, brother, sister, or whatever, but they might be the black sheep of the family.
I was dating someone from 17 to 27. He passed away.
I have to give you kudos for that because you did not stop. Welcome to the Emily Abraham Presents a Love Luxury podcast, and today we have a very special guest, Chrissy Monroe, and she's come all the way from New York. So welcome, Chrissy.
Thank you so much.
I'm really excited to have you with me today, and I'm really appreciative actually of you coming because I know how busy you are since you've been here, and it's your first trip to London.
Yes, that is correct.
So just very briefly, we met on Friday evening at a certain someone's special birthday event, and you're here for a reason. Can you just give us a brief rundown of why you're in London?
Okay, so I was invited for the Floyd Mayweather fight, which is this evening, but it's also a celebratory week because it's his birthday. So I flew in on Wednesday. We had a roller skating party. That was amazing. Thursday was the actual red carpet, black tie gala. I met you Thursday, correct? Yes.
Was it Thursday?
It was Thursday.
Oh.
I know you're busy
Oh
too,
my
like me. I know our
me.
brains. I know it's like every day goes by so fast. So I actually met you there.
Yeah.
But I'm here with the money team. I was invited by P. Rilla, who is Floyd's long-term friend and manager. Amazing person. I mean, just amazing.
Also a very good friend of yours.
Yes, amazing friend of mine, and he was actually friends with my ex who passed away from New York. So it's kind of some history there. Just all around great guy, and it's nice that he includes people on these trips and to come to these events and celebrate. So it's great. And then I saw you walk into the party, and I said, I love her. I follow her on Instagram. She's so fabulous. Gosh, I love her and her daughter. So as soon as I saw you, I came up to you and I said, oh my God, I love you. And you were so welcoming. You were so polite and so nice. I said, can I have a picture with you? And you were like, absolutely. You were so nice to me and so cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I try to be as welcoming to people as possible because at the end of the day, without followers and supporters, you wouldn't have a name, would you? So I do try and give everybody my time if they want it. I never push myself onto people, but if they want it, I give them my time. But I really loved you and your personality. And I was sat at home and I was thinking, we were talking and I was like, I'm going to invite her into my podcast and see if she wants to come and talk to me. So I do really appreciate you taking time out because I know how busy you are.
No, but thank you for the opportunity because here I am in London and this is a great opportunity for, to promote a lot of the things that I'm doing over in the States. So this is very great. And this is the epitome of actual women empowerment. You didn't have to invite me, and I appreciate that you did.
Yeah, and I hope you'll return the favor if I come to New
York. Yes, girl. We are hanging out in New York, honey. You are my new bestie. Yes.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. She's
Thank you so much. Yeah. So listen, before we get on to those really important topics that you are here to promote, let's just get a little bit of information about who Chrissy Monroe is, where you came from, where you grew up, because I know you're not originally a native of New York.
No.
So you actually went to New York. So just tell us about your early life and where you came from, where you grew up.
So I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, which is 3 hours south of New York City. It's the 11th largest city in the United States. Some people call it Small-Timor. It's very rough, very high crime, high drug area. Not a nice place to grow up. We do have the best seafood you've ever had. It's on the Chesapeake Bay, but very, very rough city. So that's where I was born. I'm the youngest of a family of five. My mother, my father, my sister, my brother, which my sister and my brother were by my mother's first marriage. I was the youngest, but my father raised my sister and brother as his own. Unfortunately, my mother got on drugs when I was about 12 and basically said, you're old enough to raise yourself, and ran off with my brother's friend that was staying with us. So it was just me and my dad. And my dad was a heavy drinker at the time. My dad, rest his soul, was an amazing father. He did the best he could with a 5th grade education. he never put his hands on me, never, nothing like that. But I really didn't have any supervision. So, I was kind of out clubbing, had a boyfriend, running wild because there was no one watching me. And then, I wanted love and, company. So I had a boyfriend, I think I had my first serious relationship by the time I was 15.
Wow.
My father got remarried at around that time, and his wife hated me, my stepmother. She hated me. All her kids were grown and out of the house. So it was just me and them, which was kind of awkward. She just wanted it to be her and my father. So they kicked me out. So I was devastated that my father kind of chose this woman over me. But now that, I'm older, I look back and I was grateful to her later on that she took care of my father. But basically, I ended up homeless. So I was staying from place to place, staying at different people's houses. I ended up dropping out of high school, getting a full time job, and to support myself because it was just I was in survival mode basically. But it taught me a lot of lessons. I made a lot of mistakes, dated a lot of losers, so to speak. We've all made mistakes, but just been independent. And I knew I had dreams. I always wanted to be an actor and a model since I was young. But Baltimore was only so many opportunities. I did a lot of extra work in films, a lot of things. I got a lot of experience under my belt, but I knew I needed to be in New York to really make things happen. But, life kept getting in the way. My sister now got on drugs heavy. She had my niece, Ashley. There was no one to take care of Ashley because my sister was being very neglectful due to her drug habit. So I took my niece and got full custody and raised her as my own. So that really prevented me from getting to New York sooner. This was when I was in my 20s. And I'm used to having my freedom. I'm used to getting up and going and traveling, but now I'm basically raising a child. But it was the right thing to do, and I have no regrets. I was dating someone from 17 to 27. He passed away. He was from New York. So he used to take me to New York on the weekends, and I was like, wow, this is a whole nother world. I'm seeing these supermodels. I'm seeing celebrities. Nothing like I see in small Baltimore, Baltimore. Like, wow, this is luxurious. This is amazing. This is where I need to be. I'm moving there no matter what. So once Ashley was old enough to move, she moved back with her biological father. We got all that sorted out. My ex passed away when I was 27. He was on the other side of things in the criminal life. I sold my house. I had a vintage clothing store at the time down there. And by the time I was 29, I packed up everything, got rid of the house, got rid of the store, and I said, I'm moving to New York. I knew two people, which were my ex's cousins that still lived in New York, and I started my whole life over at 29, which a lot of people would think that's too old. No, it's never too old. But I said, if I don't leave now, I'm never going to go. And even though I had everything that pretty much anyone would want, my own business, a nice home, my house was paid off, I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. I knew I had a greater purpose in my heart, creative wise, to get to where I needed to be. I needed to be where the work was. So the rest is history, basically. I got to New York. I worked in a lot of the nightclubs and things. Went on auditions, got some modeling contracts, things like that. I've always been a plus size model. I'm a size 12. I'm 5'9", so I fit right into that those qualifications. But I really wanted to be on TV, so I kept going on different auditions. I'd get little jobs here and there and things like that. And I'm dating, relationships, getting sidetracked all the time. We don't really realize how much life can distract us. And I, got caught up in that. So basically, there was a show called Love and Hip Hop that came out on VH1. Are you familiar with the show?
Yes, I am.
Yes, it's a very big show. And I actually got on the show. I'm very good friends with DJ Khaled's wife, Nicole. So we were actually in Miami. I was at their house, and the show came on. This is when it first, like maybe the first or second season. And I'm like, wow, that's my real life. I really need to be on that show because I really have dated rappers and been in that social scene in New York now. I'm like the it girl in New York since I moved there and popular. I need to be on that show. So I told Nicole, I said, I know you have to know somebody on the show. She's like, no, but I think my friend Tanisha does. So she made one call, and 2 days later, I'm in Mona Scott Young's office, who's the owner, executive producer of the franchise. And the rest is history. I went in there and I just showed out. I came in there with my chihuahua. I put the diamond collar on the dog and just came in there full performance. And you have to have me on your show.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, it. I just made myself like this character, which was
They
really me.
couldn't say no to.
Absolutely. I put on the long blonde ponytail and the lashes and all the glitter, and they were just so sign her up. So the rest is history. And that changed my life when I tell you, like, be careful what you wish for. Because I knew what I signed up for, but I didn't know once that first episode hit, and they warned me, once that first episode airs, your life is going to change. People are going to recognize you everywhere you go. You're not going to have any more privacy. And I'm like, yeah, right. Nobody's going to care. Oh my gosh. I couldn't even go to the drugstore. I couldn't get gas. So I had a woman jump in my convertible. Like, yeah,
Oh my God.
crazy. So I started kind of becoming reclusive, like
Okay.
sending other people to the store for me. I didn't want to be bothered sometimes because then they want to take your picture. And sometimes you don't feel like putting on makeup and you just want to go out in sweats and stuff. But they want your picture and they want to FaceTime their mom and look who I'm with. Oh my God, I love you. So it was just weird for me because I'm still me, the girl from Baltimore. Like I didn't change. But yeah, it was different. But it opened a lot of doors for me and I have no regrets whatsoever. Um, it was basically the best thing that ever happened to me. And I want to, you know, let the listeners know this happened for me when I was over 40. It didn't happen in my 30s. It didn't happen in my 20s, obviously. But, you know, a lot of people said, oh, you're too old. You're too fat. Oh, if I would have listened to people, I would have never been on that show. I said, I'm deaf to this. Like, I don't want to hear the bull crap. But I kept trying and, you know, it worked out. I was one of the older cast members, but it worked out because I do look younger. A lot of people were inspired that I still kept going and I got that deal. I think I was 43 when I got on the show.
That's impressive because it's not easy once you surpass a certain age group to be able to get your foot in the door because of all of the stigma that's attached to age and, you know, anything, you know, to do for women. It's not the same for guys.
No.
A guy could be 60 and become popular or famous at that age, but for a woman, it's very hard. I have to give you like kudos for that because you did not stop. And like you said, you didn't listen to people who were saying things about you, you know, and that could have been very easy for you to do.
Yes.
Could have been very easy for you to say, do you know what? Actually, yeah, they're right. I am maybe a little bit too big, or maybe I'm a little bit too old. There's something that you said, and you said it to me when we were talking on WhatsApp, and it really bothers me when women say this, and you can explain to me why you're happy to use the term. You said, I'm a plus-sized model.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, you're just a model.
Yes.
So to me, I just see you as a model.
Thank you.
I don't see you as a plus size model. And I don't see any woman who's larger than a size 0 as a plus size. I think we all have very different shapes and sizes. And I think that actually the term plus size is a little bit derogatory.
It is.
But you freely used it with me. And is that just because you're so used to saying it now?
Absolutely. And I can say it has, they've kind of lightened up with it, so to speak, in the last maybe 10 years. It's been, the modeling industry has been more inclusive. But let me tell you, I started modeling when I was 12 and they were nasty to me. And I can show you old photos when I was a teenager. I've always been a little hippie, but I was a lot smaller back then. And they called me names. They said I was too big, I would never make it. Hippo hips, thunder thighs, big butt. Oh, yeah.
To a child?
To a child.
Wow.
They don't care. You'll never make it. Oh, you have a pretty face. You need to lose 20 pounds. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. And I knew that. And then when I moved to New York, I was plus size. I mean, they have divisions in Wilhelmina, Ford, all the top agencies is a actual plus size division. So it's basically you have to know what your type is because they don't want you coming in their office unless you fit a certain criteria because, and it does make sense because of fittings.
I understand that.
So thank God now there are Ashley Grahams and bigger models because it's opened up the door for people like me. And yes, plus size I think is derogatory as well. They've called it full figured. I mean, it is what it is. It's just the size. If I go to a fitting, I need a size 12. I need a size 14. I can't do a size 0. I did the Ashley Stewart fashion show, and I just hit the mark at a size 14 to be in their runway show. And that's okay, but because it's business at the end of the day. So they don't want someone that's a size 0 showing up to fit into a size 22. It's wasting everyone's time. I don't think there's a really nice way to say. I guess maybe full figure does sound better than plus size. I don't know how to say it. Fashion Nova has what, Nova Curve. Um, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, what you're saying makes sense. It does. What you're saying, you know, you can't turn up for a fitting if the fittings are for smaller figured ladies, or, you know, that makes sense to me, or vice versa. But it's just the term is not very endearing towards women. And I think that when you have that term drilled into your brain, you are telling yourself that you're that.
Yes.
And the reality is actually, no, you're not. You're just a beautiful woman.
Thank you.
And that's it.
And I wish it were that simple. But at
Would
the end
be
of the day,
nice.
these people are just straight business, especially in New York. They're very abrasive, very to the point, and they'll look at you and say, "What is she doing here? Have her get her out." No, her nasty. And you have to have a very thick skin, and a lot of people don't make it, or they give up because of that. Me, I've always had a thick skin. Like, I don't care. You could say whatever. Like, you're not going to convince me that I'm not all that. Like, my mother was my biggest hater. Before I moved to New York, my mother actually literally came and tried to talk me out of. She came back into my life years later, said, "You're never going to make it. You're going to be a small fish in a big pond. You're too fat. You're too old. I'm just trying to save you from wasting your time." She said, "You're going to be right back." This is my mother, who was never there for me, by the way. So I can only imagine, and I haven't seen my mother in 16 years. I can only imagine my mother's face when she seen me come across that TV show screen on one of the world's largest shows with my name, and I'm holding my dog, and I'm fabulous. I can only imagine that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what the thoughts were running through her brain.
Yes. The one person who told me you would never make it. Well, guess what? I made it.
And the one person that should be saying, actually, regardless of anything, just go for it.
Yeah, she never supported me.
That's really sad to hear.
It is.
It is really sad, because I think young ladies need not validation from their mothers, but they do need mother support. Because, like you said, the industry that you got into can be very catty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an mentally easy industry to be part of. So to have someone at the end of the phone that you can ring and say, "Mama, you know, I'm feeling a little bit low today," and for them to give you those words of support is a really important thing. And it just goes to credit you of how strong a woman that you are. You went through trauma as a child. You lost the love of your life. You moved to New York when you probably were thinking, I mean, I don't know, I was going to ask you this. Was there any moment when you were doing that move, selling your house, leaving your business and moving to New York, where you thought to yourself, "Oh my God, I think I'm making the wrong choice"? Or was it just, "I'm going for this, I don't care"?
There was never any doubt. Even if I didn't make it in acting, I knew I'm a natural hustler. I always was in sales. I knew I'd be great at something, even if that didn't pan out. So there was no doubt. I just knew I didn't want to be there anymore. It was too depressing. There's like a black cloud over that city. It's, you know.
It's really funny because we haven't had this conversation. So we're actually getting to know each other here.
Yes.
And there's so many parts of your story that are similar to mine.
Really?
I'm not going to go into mine because the podcast is about you. But I resonate with you. And I really, when you say things like that, that's the sort of thing I say about where I came from. And I feel when I drive back there to see people, I'm like, oh my God.
They're still doing the same things,
I
right?
can drive to this place and I know who's going to be there. I can drive to the next place and I know who's going to be. It's like they're stuck in a time warp.
Yeah, 20 years later, but now they have a bigger belly and some gray hair, right? Right? Am I wrong?
True, it's
I
true.
know. Not being mean, but it's just facts.
It's true. And the thing is that I love these people, don't get me wrong, but there's no progression and there's no want for progression. And I think I can see in you the same things that I saw in myself when I left and I was, heck no, I'm gone. This is enough. And I was a little bit younger than you. But I think sometimes being older, like you said, can be even more daunting because when you're young, you're fearless. You're
Yes.
like, do you know what? If I have to couch hop, I'll couch hop. If I have to find something to do and it's a week and, week's worth of work, it's fine. But I think when you are, especially because you'd brought up Ashley, it was Ashley, wasn't it?
Yes.
When you brought up Ashley, she'd flown the nest, gone back to her dad, and you've got your freedom, but you've also matured as a woman.
Yes.
So you've had that responsibility. And so you're then thinking, right, now's the time. I'm going to do something with my life. And like you said, if I don't do it now, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So that, for me, hearing that from you is massive, because there's so many people that need to hear that.
Yes. And I always, when people contact me from my city or other cities, they're like, I want to move. I want to do this. I do it. Quit talking yourself out of it. Quit thinking
What's
of
holding
reasons
you back?
why not to, and think of the reasons why you can. If you have to work a job you don't like for a year to save money to make the move, do it. Just make the sacrifice. Stop shopping. Stop doing these, frivolous things. Save the money so you can get an apartment in another city and start over.
But that then comes back to you being business minded.
Yes.
Okay, because not everybody's business minded, and
No.
people will put having their nails done and their lashes above thinking about, oh, actually, if I put that money aside, I could probably get out of here,
Yes, if I stop eating out all the time and things like that, those little things add up. It's just the matter of how bad do you want it? Where there's a will, there's a way. You have to want it bad enough. A lot of people say they want something, but then how bad do you really want it? Because all I hear are excuses a lot of times from people. So once I start hearing the but and this and that, and I just like, okay, I got to go because I don't have time. I'm about progression. I'm about growth. I'm 50 years old now. So, I'm making every second count. I feel like I'm making up for a lot of lost time. So a little bit moving forward, while I was in New York, my sister passed away from drugs, from fentanyl, my sister Eva, who basically raised me because my mother was never around. So that was a big loss for me. And then 2 weeks later, my best friend passed away from an asthma attack. He was only 28. And, he was my biggest promoter fan. He would go out and get me bookings, just good kid. Um, and then after my sister passed, my niece Ashley lost the will to live. She did not want to live anymore. So she got heavily involved on drugs. And that was my mini me. That was my heart and soul. Um, she ended up in a coma from drugs and she was on the ventilator for about a month. I had to go down to Baltimore along with her father, her biological father, and sit with the doctors and make the decision whether to take her off of life support, which was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life because she's 30 years old at the time. And it's like, you see these shows about miracles happening, people coming out of these comas eventually. Now, at this time, I was also working in the plastic surgery business. That's something I kind of fell into as an influencer from being on television. So I was working with a lot of very world-renowned surgeons. Actually, I was working for Dr. Aiden, who's on Housewives of New Jersey. I don't know if you know the show.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I worked with Dr. Aiden. His wife, Jennifer, is on the show as well. And I asked him, I sat in his office when I was going through this. I said, what are the chances, from your opinion, as being a surgeon, of my niece coming out of this coma? And he said, well, what are they saying about her brain activity? She had less than 10% brain activity.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So he said, in a great world, we would love to have the miracle happen like we see. He said, but that's 1 in a billion chances. He said, but then again, how long do you want her to lay there on a ventilator, unresponsive? So we made the decision to take her off the ventilator, which was devastating. Through all of these things, and me still trying to persevere and make my dreams come true, I'm suffering all of these losses back to back to back. I took care of my father the last year of his life. His wife died of liver cancer, and there was no one to take care of him. So even though he kicked me out, and I still had resentment in my heart and a lot of things from being a teenager, all that went out the window when he needed me. I stepped in and I put him in my car and I brought him to New York, and I took care of him the last year of his life because none of that mattered. And I have to say what a blessing it was. He was in a wheelchair. He had dementia. He was in diapers. It was a lot, a lot.
It's a lot.
Yes. So, but I got to relearn and re-know my father for the last year of his life. Like, it was like none of those things ever happened again. And we got, a lot of things on video. He would tell me stories about when I was little. So that was such a blessing. And I shared that with social media, and so many people embraced that, because you don't really realize how many people are going through things with relatives, grandparents, um, and their caretakers. And it's stressful, because here I am, I'm running a surgical practice in Manhattan on Madison Avenue 5 days a week. Then I'm still doing some acting and modeling, and then I'm taking care of my father every single day. It's stressful. And I'm just one person. I don't have a family, to support. So that alone, I didn't know what the impact of that, and I didn't do it for attention.
Of course.
But everyone just loved my dad. He was such a sweetheart. They really loved his personality. He's an angel. And people just were like, God, thank you for sharing this, because I'm doing this right now with my mom, and nobody knows what I go through and how hard it is. And I said, to a lot of people, I want to inspire you. If you have someone elderly or anyone who needs you, be there for them.
So everybody said how cute your dad was, and they loved his personality.
Yes. I had gotten him a mechanical cat, because when he had his house that I had to take him out of in Baltimore, he had an alley cat that lived in the yard, that he loved this cat. This cat was flea ridden. It was an outside cat, and my dad loved this cat. I mean, he would call for this cat more than he would his wife. The cat's name was Sweetie. So, of course, when I brought him up here, we couldn't bring the mangy cat. So I had an idea. I went on Amazon and I put orange robotic cat. And I didn't know that they make these pets for seniors, dogs and cats, that purr, and they open their eyes and they move. They're like real animals.
That's
They're
crazy.
comfort animals for seniors. So I lucked out. $100, best $100 I ever spent. And my dad had cataracts. He's lost maybe 85% of his vision. So he could see shadows. So when I brought the cat, I made the video. And I brought him the cat. I said, "Look, Daddy, Sweetie's here." He said, "Is this real?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Pet him." And it started purring and moving. Oh, it was such a moment. He said, "Oh, Sweetie, my baby." Oh, he believed that cat was real, and he wouldn't let that cat go. I have the cat now that he passed. And I'm telling you, that cat was just sat on his lap in the wheelchair, and I'd bring, cat food and everything, and we would really pretend this cat was real on Instagram, and everyone just loved it. Like, it was just so great. So, people were like, "Wow, it's so great what you're doing." I said, "Well, it's not great what I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing." And I told them, I hope you would do the same if someone needed you, because it's so sad how many people abandon their parents, especially in America, and just throw these people away. And it's so sad and heartbreaking to see.
I actually think it's quite common in the UK as well. I think it's not really, I think it's more of a European thing, where the elderly are really well looked after by the family. They live with the family. You don't really see it much in the UK either.
Really?
Yeah, you don't see it much in the UK at all. Let's move on to, that's a really sweet story. Before we move on, that's a really sweet story. And it just goes to attest to what a lovely heart you've got, that you swallowed your pride and went to your dad when he needed you, because you didn't have to, but you felt that it was the right thing to do.
100%.
And I felt it was the right thing to do as well.
100%.
Let's move on to how you came to set up your charity for women who have been victims of domestic violence. Let's touch on that, because we spoke about it very briefly.
Yes.
And it's not just in America that you help people. Your charity is for anywhere in the world, anyone who needs this help. So if there's anybody out there who needs help from domestic violence, I think it's really important that Chrissy explains her charity to you, so that you fully understand, so that perhaps if you need the help, you can go to the charity for help.
Yes. So when I left Love and Hip Hop, I got involved with a younger man. He was gorgeous. I mean, he looked like just a model.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And, I was in a very strange place, because I'm famous now. And it was a lonely, lonely place to be. Because now everyone wanted to be my best friend, and everyone you wanted to hang around me. It was so fake. And I felt it. And it was just really a lonely place. I just didn't want anyone around me because I know they just wanted to be seen with me for popularity or to get into events and things like that. They weren't really there for me. So I met this guy, and he was just a regular guy. Now, I know he was in jail. He came home
Okay.
from jail.
Okay.
But it was supposedly for a gun charge or something like that. And I've always liked the bad boys. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just something.
They have an appeal.
Yes, not anymore though. I don't like any of them. I want a nerd, the biggest nerd I could find. So things moved pretty rapidly. In a nutshell, he ended up moving in with me. He was paroled to my house, which was a dumb mistake, but the sex was great and the companionship. It was nice having someone there, and we go watch movies together, things like that. It was nice to have someone around, and he was just gorgeous to look at. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. So, and he was great in the beginning, and then it was just a gradual progression of emotional abuse, which a lot of people don't know about, which was ignoring me, playing mind games, and I'd be like, well, what's wrong? Did I do something? Get out of my face. Leave me alone. I was like, are you okay? What's wrong? Just get out of my face. Leave me alone. Like making me think, it's called crazy making me think
Yeah.
that I did something or things like that. It's all manipulation tactics in the
100%.
beginning. So I didn't even know about these things. I just thinking like, okay, well, he had an off day, whatever. But it just kept getting more and more worse, or saying insults, or you're the oldest woman I've ever been with.
Ugh.
Just things like that. And I'm like, okay. So then it got to be the name calling. One day he just flipped on me and it was like a schizophrenic, like an episode where he blacked out and just called me some of the most filthy names you could ever, imagine. It was just like a burst of it. And then he was like back to being normal again. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So I even said to him, I started crying. I said, this isn't going to work out. Like, you're in my house. You're not going to talk to me like that. He's like, well, you wanted me to move in and I'm paroled here. I have nowhere to go. I can't just move like that. I have to get permission from my parole officer to move. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, well, why don't you sleep in the living room? So that was that for a while. So then it got to be him calling other women in front of me, talking to other women in front of me. Oh, yeah.
The disrespect.
So the first time he hit me, we were in my convertible. We were heading, I think, to his cousin's house or something. And it was a beautiful summer day. The top was down. I think I did something like change the radio station, or I said something he didn't like, and he just punched me in my face like a man. I mean, blood was squirting all over the car, all over the steering wheel. I literally started screaming, and I just put the car into stop in the middle of the highway. I was panicking. I was so shocked. I had never had a man hit me like this.
How are you supposed to drive in that state?
You can't. I just literally threw the car into park in the middle of a 65 mile an hour, the Major Deegan Highway, busy highway. And I was screaming, hoping somebody would stop and help me.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like so surreal because people were just passing by, and I couldn't believe this happened. And I'm squirting, gushing blood. You know what he does? He's looking for napkins to try to wipe it, not to help me, but just in case the police or somebody kept not to get caught. That's how I realized how sick he was. And we got to his cousin's house, and I was panicking. She said, oh, honey, she said, you have not seen nothing yet. This cousin has raised him. She's tough. We're cool to this day. Tough chick.
Yeah.
From the Bronx. She said, honey, get out while you can.
Wow.
She said, he will kill you. She said, you're not the first. She said, you got a small taste of this. She said, he's done it to me. She said, he spit in my 3-year-old son's face for stepping on his sneakers. He's an animal. Wow. So here I am with this maniac living in my house, and I'm telling him to get out. And he's telling me if I call the police or call his parole officer, he'll kill me. And I believed him.
Yeah, of course you would.
Yeah, so
the fear takes over, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it got to be where he was just beating me up, and verbally, mentally. I mean, the wounds healed, but the mental really wears you out.
Goes.
Yeah, I have permanent hearing damage in my left ear. He dislocated my left jaw. He broke my front tooth. I have veneers now. Cracked my rib. But you know, the mental scars, you know, it's never going to go away. I started therapy and counseling. I got rid of him. I got him out finally. It took a few months, but he finally got him out. He went and committed a crime, and then I finally had the guts to press charges when I knew he was in jail.
Okay.
But I was still getting threats from blocked numbers that someone, you know, calling me with my address that they were going to come cut my face and I better watch my back. All kind of crazy stuff. I better move from New York.
What?
Oh yeah, him and his friends
Cronies.
terrorizing me. Disgusting. So I pressed charges. They only gave him 3 months, and he was already in there for a robbery that he just committed. So they ran it concurrent with the time that he was in there. So he didn't basically do 1 second for what he did to me. I was so furious. I said, you know what? If they only gave him 3 months and I'm a public person, I'm a known person, what happens to the regular woman that doesn't have a platform, that doesn't have a voice? They probably get no justice. They get nothing done. So I said, I've been blessed from being on Love and Hip Hop and being on, you know, television and things to have a large platform. Let me use this platform to become a voice for the voiceless. Because shame on me if I went through this. Yes, it was horrifying. Yes, he almost killed me. Yes, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But shame on me if I don't turn that into something good to help other people. Then he wins. If I don't make something good come out of it, then what was it for? You know what I mean? It's just something that happened. If I can share my experience and help anyone else going through those things to see the signs before it gets to that physical or the really bad psychological damage, even if it's one life, then it's worth it to me. So I said, I'm going to start. I didn't know what I was doing. I said, I'm going to start an organization. So I have a good friend that's a lawyer. She said, you need to make it a 501c3 and all this.
What does that mean, a 501c3? Because in the UK, we don't have that.
It means it's tax exempt from the government.
Okay.
So when people give a donation, you could give a write-off and they can claim it on their taxes.
Okay, yeah. We have something similar in the UK. Yeah.
So it's never really even come in handy because I just mostly get small private donations and things like that. So I'm not getting $1 million grants or anything like that. It's not, you know. So she set up the charity and I called it Survive to Thrive Global. And why did I call it that? Because not only did I survive domestic violence, now I'm thriving because I'm like, man, I came too far from Baltimore, from an abusive mother, to my sister dying from drugs, to my niece, all these obstacles to come this far to let this piece of crap try to take all of that away from me? No, I'm really going to show off now. Like, I'm really going to get it together because how could I even let myself slip that bad to even get involved with a piece of trash like that, even though I didn't know he was such a piece of trash when I met him, you know what I mean? So, survived, and now I'm thriving. I wanted to exemplify that there is life after abuse, and you can really even have a better life than you ever dreamt of after overcoming those things. You don't have to be depressed and stuck in that. No, you can make it through and you can even just be better. And I said global because this is a global pandemic, just like anything else. There are so many countries where women have no rights. We are just beaten, left for dead, and nothing gets done about it. America has horrible resources. So imagine there's countries in Jamaica, the West Indian countries and stuff. These women are getting murdered every day. Middle East, Asia, and nothing is getting done about it. Nothing, because they consider the law in the United States to be a domestic violence, which is domestic. It's a matter between a husband and wife, a private matter. Those laws need to change, and these politicians just really don't care. They can pretend they care around election time, and then it's forgotten after that. So I've been down that road with marching and trying to get into these political realms and stuff. It's been a waste of time. So what I find most effective is having tools like social media, which is a worldwide platform for women such as myself and other survivors and victims and families of survivors and victims to come together and network and have kind of a sisterhood, because it's so hard to talk about, because a lot of us have been disowned or ignored by the people who we thought we could turn to, because they basically got tired of hearing about it. And it was the victim blaming of, well, you should just leave.
But it's not only that. Let me just stop you. It's not only that. These men are predators, and they will only pick out a woman that they think has got a weakness. And they will usually pick women who don't have a supportive network. So they don't have a mum or a dad, or they don't have any siblings, or they don't really have a very strong group of friends. So they will specifically, it's like they've got this radar, you know? He knew what you had and what you didn't have.
Exactly.
And he honed in on you, and he got himself through your door pretending to be this Mr. Wonderful. And it's always around 6 months that they start showing their true colours. They can keep it up for about 6 months, the fakery. And then it kind of things start to creep in, or sometimes before that, because some of them aren't that good at hiding it for so long. This is the pattern. So the pattern you're telling me is the pattern that all my friends that have been in the same situation that I was in, it's the same pattern, but they only target women that don't have a support network or that don't have very good relationships with their families. So they might have a mum, a dad, brother, sister, whatever, but they might be the black sheep of the family.
Yes.
And it's like they know.
They isolate you.
What's she going to do
Yes,
about it?
exactly.
Who's she going to go to?
Yes. And they tell you, oh, your friends, you don't have no friends. Your
Yeah.
family doesn't care about me. Oh, your friends want me. It's the brainwashing. It's manipulation. It's a lot of narcissistic abuse as well. So, exactly. He knew I didn't have family in New York at all, or, pretty much anyone. So, he had the prime opportunity. He told me he hates females. Just a very disturbed individual. And since then, I had a 5-year order of protection. And several women reached out to me saying, oh, he broke my nose.
Oh my God.
Oh, he's a serial woman beater. He doesn't belong on the streets. But with the way the law is set up, they just give him a slap on the wrist and let him right out. They don't care. He's going to end up killing someone.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree, because they get away with it so many times that one day the drugs or the anger overtake them, and then,
They don't care.
They
They,
don't
they go to jail one night and get out. And just, So basically, the main purpose of Survive to Thrive Global, I can't go to someone's house and say, come on, let's go, let's leave. No, you have to be ready to leave. It's like a drug addict. They have to be ready to stop, because there's so many reasons why women stay, and men. I mean, it's domestic violence is men and women. It's not just women, because a lot of times we love that person, especially when we have children with them. We always have that little bit of hope that they may turn back into that good guy that we fell in love with. And there's so many different reasons people stay. And I would never judge anyone, but they have to be ready. And sometimes people never are ready. It normally takes 7 times for someone to leave an abusive relationship.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And plus, too, it's usually a financial dynamic, especially imagine, people say, oh, just leave. Okay, well, what if you met your husband in high school, got pregnant, you have 3 or 4 kids, no education, no job skills, you don't even know how to use a debit card because they've kept you in the house isolated, abused. Where are you and your children going? To a filthy, dirty shelter?
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. There's nowhere to go. Even in New York, the shelter system is like prison. It's disgusting. The workers are abusive. It's dirty. A lot of people end up homeless because of domestic violence. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people would rather live on the street than to go back. So there's really no resources, very limited resources for people with domestic violence. And that's in the U.S. So imagine other countries that are not even as rich as the United States. So it's really tragic, and it's really heartbreaking that even children, and they're witnessing this. It's just it breaks my heart, man. I wish I could just help everyone. So with my organization, I like to educate and spread awareness. We post headlines almost every day of things that are going on, signs. We've had groups before COVID. I was having group sessions in New York City, because it's something just as simple as sitting in a circle with other people that have been through domestic violence, just to have someone listen to you and to say, I believe you. I know what you've been through. That can make all the difference, because people just need to be heard and tell their story and get it out. I had a woman come in a wheelchair all the way from Brooklyn. She took a train to come in her wheelchair just to be a part of my group one time, because she said, nobody in my family wants to hear me. They don't believe me. They don't care. People just need that love and that support. And just having the Instagram page where people can network and hook up with other survivors in different cities and things. There's also the National Domestic Violence Hotline in the United States, which is 1-800-799-SAFE. where you can call. Like people will reach out to me. Like I said, I can't just come and get you out of your house, but I can say, well, give me your zip code. What city are you in? So I will look up some resources in the area and give them some numbers to call when they are ready. I can't save everyone, but what I can do is share my experience. And I'm also a testimony that this can happen to anyone. I was at the height of my fame and career when this happened. And that just shows how the devil is hard at work because I should have been celebrating and having fun, but I'm behind closed doors getting beat up, and no one really knew that at the time. Um,
Can I just ask you a question?
yes.
What's the handle for the Instagram, just so people know?
It's at Survive to Thrive Global, and also the website is www.survivetothriveglobalorg.
Okay, thank you.
Also, we'll do fundraisers mainly to provide clothing, diapers, toiletries to people because a lot of people leave with just the clothes on their back.
Yes.
So those things, the essential needs that people need to get started and things. But there are a few good programs. There are a few good shelters, and they're mostly ran by survivors. But anything pretty much ran by the state is
Yeah. I think that's that's pretty much the same here. I'll be honest with you. I don't think that there's really that much geared up for genuine, proper support. And it is very similar in the UK.
Yes.
I think they're probably marginally better, but nothing really. And you do have to be able to find that support yourself. There's very few places that you can go to and get that support. You literally have to go and find it. So yeah, I don't think and we're in first world countries. I live in England, you live in the USA. Like you said, what about the ladies in India or, in these countries like Jamaica, the West Indies countries and South America and places like that? This is very prevalent. And like you said, women are murdered daily and nobody even gives nobody cares.
And in a lot of these countries, such as Jamaica and West Indian countries, a lot of it is part of the culture where your own mother will blame you for, well, what did you do to make your husband hit you?
Yeah.
You shouldn't talk back. You shouldn't wear such a short skirt. How horrible. You feel so isolated and beaten down already, and then you have your own mother blaming you too.
But then if you have that kind of parent, then that's probably why you've accepted that treatment from a man like that in the first place.
Exactly.
Because the example that you've been given wasn't the best example.
Because she probably endured it.
Exactly.
So it's about breaking that cycle.
Exactly.
So, so that's Survive to Thrive Global. And that's my life's passion. Also, I'm working on a few other things.
So I wanted to get to that.
Yes.
So we have got, let's change it to a little bit of a cheerier. So you have got quite a few things in the pipeline that you are working on currently.
Yes.
And they're really cool things. So you have your own podcast, you've got your own TV show, and tell us about anything else. So tell us about those things and tell us about anything else you've got going on.
Okay, so I have a show currently called Finding Chrissy, which is out on Amazon Prime and Tubi, which are streaming platforms. We filmed that 6 episodes. I co-executive directed, co-executive produced. And basically the premise is my reality after reality TV, because a lot of people will see you on a show big like Love and Hip Hop of that magnitude and then wonder, well, whatever happened to her? I loved her. So I wanted to just show what I'm doing now and how I started my own online boutique called Serving Looks. I have 68 lip gloss colors. I have lingerie. I have clothing. It's something I always wanted to do because, if you have social media, you need to be selling something. It's just that easy. Click and ship and e-commerce for me is everything. But showing on the show how I start the business, the daily operations, the reality of starting your own business, me trying to date after becoming famous, which has been a problem because a lot of guys, they want to just date me because they think I'm going to put them on TV or, and it's like, no, hun, it's not happening. You're going to take care of me. No. You know what I'm saying? So just a lot of interesting things, me showcasing what I do with my charity, just my real life. It's very simple, just my reality after reality. So that's on now. And I started filming my podcast / talk show at the top of the year, which is executive produced by someone very, very big in the industry in New York. He works for Def Jam Records. He produced a very successful, it's out now, podcast called Smoke Champs, which is also affiliated with Drink Champs, which is sometimes #1 on the charts of podcasts. So he has the formula. So the Chrissy Monroe Show is the name, very simple. And it's a variety kind of show. I like to showcase people from all walks of life that are inspirational despite where they come from, overcoming obstacles, and just learning about different things that they do. And, sometimes funny and, informative, sometimes make you cry. Talking about a lot of procedures, like people love that I get Botox, and I had the little mini facelift. So I like talking about a lot of those things. So I had my doctor friend on. We explained those things. So just kind of a variety show, kind of a cross between Howard Stern and Wendy Williams.
Okay.
'Cause sometimes it could be a little raunchy and fun, a little booty shaking, but and then a lot of sometimes maybe some products and things like that, or just a variety of anything interesting. And everything me. I'm all over the place. So
You're like an onion. And if you know what I mean by that, it's not that you're bitter and sharp, it's that you've got so many layers to you. You're not just the love and hip hop lady. You're so much before and so much after. And you really are, like when I'm talking to you, I'm like feeling these layers opening up, and there's so much to you. And I think that's what's so endearing about you, is that one, that you're not afraid to talk about your past and admit that you've made mistakes, because most people in the public eye don't do that. Oh yeah, skip over that part of my life. I'll forget that happened. But you're actually very open, and you're willing to talk about anything. You said to me, I'll talk to you about anything. I'm an open book. And that to me is very endearing, because you and I are just normal people. We're just normal people living our lives, but we've worked hard and followed our dreams. And I think that is an inspiration for the generations to come, but not only the generations to come. I also think that you and I, we're very similar in age, are inspirational for the older generations to say, actually, yeah, I'm not too old. I'm very much like you. I didn't rise to fame until my early 40s, and I wouldn't even say I'm famous. I'm just known by people. I don't feel famous.
you are you're famous.
even
Love
though
it.
even though people in New York know who I am, and people all over the world, I don't feel it. I'm just me. I'm Emily. But I get that from you as well. Nobody's going to stop Chrissy being Chrissy. You are who you are, and you're very true to that. And you're not going to deviate just because somebody wants you to.
Never.
And it really endears me to you. And I think that's probably why people are in the public are going to love you even more after hearing your story, because you're going to hit a different audience today. The audience that I have is a very different audience to you will have in the States.
I love it.
Because people in the States I see it, they're very different, what they like. Like you were saying, when you go out, you can't go to a petrol station because gas station, you call it, because someone jumped in your car and it made you feel reclusive.
Yes. Scary.
Here, it's kind of the opposite, because you can walk down the streets and people will be looking and they'll go, oh my God, that's that person. I've seen her face. But they don't have the guts to come up and walk.
Really?
Yeah.
So were you shocked when I came up to you? I was like, yes, I love you. Yes.
I mean, I was pleasantly surprised, because
Yes.
I love meeting people. If
Yes.
you like my content and I'm doing something right and you're enjoying it, then I would like to know that, and I
Yes.
enjoy, and like I said, I like meeting people that follow us, because without people like you and everybody else that's following us, we wouldn't have a supportive,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have a platform
Yes.
to talk to people about anything, and important things like the topics that we've broached today.
Yes.
Yeah. And also set an example for people to say, I can do it too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's so wonderful about us crossing paths,
Yes.
because we can be an example to women of our own age. And we were talking about this on the phone last night as well. Life does not stop when you reach 25.
No, it does not.
Life doesn't stop when you reach 35 or 45.
No.
Life continues on. And actually, I feel, like you said, I'd never date another bad boy again. You want a geek. You get to the point in life where you just think, actually, I've realised where I've been going wrong. Here's what I'm going to do to make the right moves. And your life just gets better.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
I love it. Yes.
Doesn't it?
Yes, because now we have the wisdom.
Exactly. And so I think that we're really good examples. You're a US example. I'm a UK example, that being over 40 does not mean that opportunities aren't going to rise, that things can't be how you want them to be. I think actually maybe it's the best time of my life.
Yes. I feel the same.
I hated my 20s.
I know. I was
Oh
so
my
confused.
God.
I was so
The
confused.
stress,
Yes.
angst, anxiety all the time.
Yes.
Bad relationships.
Ugh.
you
Bad
know,
friendships.
Bad friendships too.
Parties and
Yeah.
just yes. Now I just feel like I'm comfortable in my skin. I feel like I look fabulous.
You
And
do.
thank you. And I have the confidence and the wisdom now to really just be the total package and really go for what I want. I didn't have that in my 20s. I was confused and oh, I don't think I look good enough.
Yeah.
All the now it's like you can't tell me anything. It is what it is. Take it or leave it.
Exactly.
That's it. Yes.
And it's personal, it's self-acceptance.
Yes.
And when you become so confident in your own skin and love yourself,
Yes.
other people are drawn to you.
Yes.
100%.
1,000. Yes. And you don't even realize that, like, people come up to me like, I love your confidence. I love your spirit. And to me, that's such a compliment, more than saying you're so pretty.
Beautiful. Yeah.
When they say they love my spirit, that really is a great compliment. So
It's funny you say that because actually, when me and my husband have conversations and he says, oh, everybody always comments on how beautiful you are. I said, when somebody starts commenting on what a lovely person and individual I am and how wonderful they feel I am inside, I will start listening to the compliments. And he looks at me and he's like, really? And I've said it to him 100 times. But that to me is more of, is a compliment. How you look on the outside is totally irrelevant in my mind. Yes, it helps you get places.
Yes.
Let's be honest about it. I mean, I doubt very much I'd be sat here today if I didn't look the way that I look. But I'm also not the most beautiful person in the world. There's people out there that are far more beautiful than me. But I have a wonderful heart, and so do you. And that in itself is very important.
but it shines. I think your outside is a reflection of how you feel on the inside, and you're just glowing, and you can tell that you're very happy, and that shows, and that's amazing.
And you don't have that when you're going through all that angst and those problems. When you're, you feel depressed.
Yes.
And not only that, you said something at the beginning of the conversation. You were talking about depression and the feeling that you get when you're in a relationship that's negative. It's very hard to get out of those kind of relationships because you are telling yourself, as well as the other person, that you're no good and that nobody else is going to want you.
Yes.
And that they're the best that you're ever going to get. But the reality is, to anybody listening, if you feel like that, what you have to do is change your surroundings completely, get away from the people that make you feel like that, your friends, your family, your partner, and even your job. If any of those aspects make you feel like that, then that's not right.
100%.
Because we all deserve to feel like the most beautiful, the most smart, the most dynamic person on the earth, because every single one of us are.
1,000%. And I talk about females too. A lot of our so-called friends are abusive, and we don't even think about it because we just thinking these are our girlfriends, but they're always saying underhanded comments or jealous or a little competitive or just always trying to take you down a notch so they can feel superior. You have to watch out for those too, because I've cut a lot of them off, and I realize I feel so much better because a lot of them were energy vampires, just living in my spotlight and the glow, but secretly envious that they're not me, but enjoying the benefits of being around me.
Yeah.
So it was just, no, girl, you got to go. I cut a lot of them off, and it's great.
But that again attests to how strong you are and intuitive, because most people wouldn't see that and they don't understand that. And you have to have intuition to see that in people. And you are actually a true inspiration to me, Chrissy.
I love you. You're so awesome. Coming from you, that is like the top
No.
compliment. No, because you are so fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much. But the reason I say that is because you have come from rock bottom on many different occasions, and you've always pushed through and built yourself up, and that is massively positive.
Yeah.
And look where you are now. You're in London. Your first visit to London.
And I'm with the money team. I mean,
Yeah.
everything's first class, 5-star, luxurious. I mean, what's better than that? That's God working in my
Yeah.
life. And, I always say to people that people ask me, how are you so strong? I said, well, what's the alternative?
No.
Lay down and die? Lay down in bed and feel sorry for myself? What's going to happen then? God's going to put other people in the shoes and the opportunities that are meant for me. Life's going to pass me by. Unfortunately, it's a cold world out here, and most people don't care. So I have to get up every day and fight. Yeah, I'm a human. I have my bad days. And not to be somber, my brother committed suicide November 20th.
Oh,
And
bless you.
and I dealt with his mental health issues. His wife and I, his best friend and I, we really tried to help him. And he didn't even really know what was wrong. He was having anxiety. He tried different medications and things like that. And I kept telling him, Stanley, you got to stay strong. He's like, I'm not as strong as you. I said, you are. You know, you're living inside your head too much. You have to get out and keep your mind busy. You know, your mind is too idle. But he made the decision to do that, and I'm okay with that because he was really struggling with mental health. But that even more so said, I'm never giving up because that's just not an option. He gave up, and it breaks my heart. But there's a lot of people that just give up, and I just can never give up. There's too much life out here. There's too many things to see. Look, I met you, people to meet, places to go, things to see. That's thrilling to me. I want more of this, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I want to help other people to see there's so much life out here outside of your small town and things, and dream big, think big. I'm a big foodie, man.
Yeah.
I love food. I'm, like I said, top 1% for bar and restaurant reviews in New York City, top 10% worldwide. And what does that entail? It means that I go to different restaurants, different establishments, and I give my honest opinion on, what it is. I show pictures of the food. I show me eating food or having drinks. And if it's crap, I'll say it's crap. And if it's amazing, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that for me is so much fun, is just trying different food, meeting the people, interviewing sometimes the owners and managers of these restaurants, finding how, the concept and how they came up with the idea of the cuisine and seasonal menus, things like that. That's fun for me
Yeah.
because I love to eat. I don't really drink too much. I don't do drugs. I'm pretty much a homebody, so food is kind of my vice. I don't really cook because I'm single. I'm an excellent cook, but I'm cooking for myself. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of a waste. So when I do have a party or something, I'll cook. But I love exploring new restaurants and different foods, trying different foods. Ultimately, that would be my dream job, is to travel the world, like sort of like an Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Anthony. I loved him. Traveling the world and just meeting people, trying different nightlife establishments, even doing hotels, spa reviews, things like that, restaurants, clubs, just showing people life in the world.
It's a very good TV.
Yes. So that's something.
Amazon Prime, here we go.
Yes.
Netflix.
Yes. So actually, I have a meeting when I get back with someone who is a major photographer. He already travels the world. He has a concept that I actually created, but he's in line with it for singles.
Okay.
There's a lot of single people out here, people that are divorced, people that are starting over. Uh, Richard Branson owns Virgin.
Yes.
He has a singles, adults only cruise ship now, Virgin Cruise
Okay.
Ship. So I'd love to go on one of his cruises and film that and show how fun that is, and show singles some of these amazing resorts that are for, adults only, or singles things, singles meetups, singles events, just something kind of like based on singles travel.
Yeah.
Not, they have family Disney travel shows and things like that. But what about for single people like myself, or people that hope to meet someone that don't want to be on these crappy dating sites? Because that's scary. So that's something that we are going to start building when I get back, because he's a videographer, world-renowned photographer. So that's great. I can see me just covering these amazing places and filming. Hey, guys, check this out. This is great water. Oh, my gosh, you need this water. And there's so many cute guys here. Yes. I see it, So
Yeah.
because people work, they have money, they just don't know where to go with it or what to do. So a lot of people look to me for kind of the social life, because they live vicariously through me. So many people say that because my life is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's
That
something.
sounds really exciting.
Yes.
Oh my God. That actually sounds really exciting. I mean, I'm not single, but it sounds really exciting for you to do because it really would fit your personality. Just so much fun and testing new things out, meeting new people. You know, why not?
And sharing
Absolutely.
that with
Yeah.
others that wish to do the same things, so they know where they're going before they book that trip and things. So
That sounds such a good idea.
yes,
Oh my
yes.
God, that's so
I have
exciting.
to think of a name. Well,
Yeah.
I'll ask you to
You,
chime in when that comes.
yeah.
Yes.
Do some brainstorming for that
Yeah,
one.
because everyone wants love. Some people are widowed or divorced and stuff, and they've given up, but there's hope.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen in newspapers couples that are like 85 getting married, you know, they're in their twilight years and they found love again after, in a residential care home or,
Yes, you never know.
You never know, do you?
Never know.
So when it's never too late, I don't believe.
Never.
It's never.
Never ever. I love you. Yes, this is my soul sister from across the pond.
It's fate. It's
Yes.
crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
We are so much alike.
Yes.
We really are. One day I'll sit down and tell you my story,
I
and
would love that.
when you hear my story, you're going to be blown away by just how many things that you've encountered in life that I have as well.
You're going to come to New York and be on my podcast. How about that? Yes.
That would be nice.
That would be great.
I'd love to. I actually have never been to New York. I have to.
No?
No, I have to. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I don't like the cold, and people in England only go to New York in the winter.
No, you're coming for the spring and
Summer.
summer.
No, I have to. Yeah, I don't like.
You will be the queen of Park Avenue, honey. You will fit right in. Bergdorf's, everything. Yes. Luxurious. Yes.
Yeah. We'll try and get that sorted out. It may not be just yet, but we'll try and get
Even
that
if
sorted
it's just
out.
for a few days.
Yeah,
And your
yeah.
daughter would love it. There's so
she'd
many
love it.
fabulous things. I mean, there's
Yeah.
the toy stores and all that. The American girl doll store.
Oh, she
and
loves all of
that
that
stuff. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
she loves all of
A
that.
lot of cute stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good. Listen, Chrissy, I've really enjoyed our talk. I don't want to hold you up any longer because I know you've got so many things to do today. But thank you so much for coming onto the show and giving me some of your very precious time here and for letting me get to know you better as well. And I can see our friendship will last a long time and develop with time as well because we do have so much in common.
Thank you for having me. I'm very honored because you are just so just great. Just amazing.
Thank you so much.
So let me tell the listeners where they could find me.
Yes, do that.
Social media.
Yes.
So you can find me on Instagram at Chrissy Monroe, Facebook Chrissy Monroe. Also, you can find me. I have a food page as well on Instagram at Chrissy's Food Fantasy. My domestic violence page, once again, is at Survive to Thrive Global. And my website for my lingerie, clothing, and super cool lip glosses is servinglooks.shop.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Jack of all trades.
Yes.
Mastermind of business you are. Secret weapon. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And again, thank you to Chrissy for coming. We hope you enjoyed the podcast today. And don't forget to drop your comments down below and go over and follow Chrissy.